Hi, my name is Emily Crow, and this is my set design for the production of The Adding Machine. So starting off with some of my concept images for my idea here. This is a paint by number of a living room set. Then we have this artist who completely customized her house to look all 2D, kind of like a coloring book effect, which really inspired me with my idea of making the entire set kind of a color by number, which is dictated by society. So a lot of my inspiration photos are literally from her house. So you can see here that this is her standing in her house, which all has that kind of 2D effect. So when I started out looking at the blueprints, I wanted to make sure that the set was still minimal, so that way the attention was bringing back to it. So I had to make sure that I was purposeful with my usage of the actual set. So this is scene one, which you also can see here. We have a bed that is yellow with the number 4s. We have a side table that is all going to be on a platform that is wheeled out with one wall that's going to be utilized in a lot of different scenes. The difference with the wall is it will have different picture frames that have not been made on this itself. So here is the floor mat where we have, once again, our platform and our bed. And in the back, you actually will be able to have this hill, which will be utilized in the scene, but it will be hidden behind this wall for a majority of the production. So that way we don't have to move this, the hill on and off stage, since it is such a big piece. So the next scene after the bedroom takes place in an office. So we're gonna once again use this wall setup here, but we are going to bring in some desks. So we have a desk here, and then a taller desk like this. So this is gonna be our scene 2. And here is our floor mat. So as you can see, we have our longer desk right here with the chair, and then our shorter circle, or our taller but smaller tall desk with the chair. This would be especially seen with Zero in the office scene where it takes place in scene 2. And once again, this hill is behind, and all the actors would have to do in terms of stage, we'll have all of the back stage crew moving these in, and they will just come in and put on different wall hangings that match the scene. So for example, this one, it might have an office sign. So the next scene is back at the Zero home, in which we have a social gathering of sorts. So we have a living room set, we have 2 couches, as well as a table. Now this table is kind of fun because we get to see more of those numbers and colors in play on the top of it. As I stated before, everything has kind of that look to it that has very 2D coloring book feel to it. So all of these have black outlines on all of the edges. Even the little feet have numbers on them with the numbers. So for example, this brown color that we chose is the number 12. So that is seen quite a bit. This is actually a different shade of brown, so it's close to it. So it's 16 is what we did there. And here is the matching, once again, floor plan. We have the 2 couches to the side with the coffee table in the middle. And once again, this wall is utilized. So up to this point, all of the society rules have been within the correct bounds for the show. Everyone is following what society deems it to be, so therefore all of our colors are matching. We have clear brown tables. The couches are a little more colorful, but that's not necessarily something that'd be completely abstract from what it should be. At this point, though, was when the audience finds out that Mr. Zero has broken society's laws, and therefore in the next scene you'll see we get a more colorful concept of sorts. So that would be the judge scene. Here we have what's going to be our judge stand, where the judge will be. You can see all of these numbers are a lot more chaotic. We have the number 10 in every single box, which implies that this all should be the same color. But now we have all of these other random numbers and colors that are being thrown in which the judge will stand there. And here's our jury box, which is also suffering from the same dilemma of the colors and the numbers not matching up, and things also not necessarily looking as society thinks it should look. The floor plan for this one, as you can see, looks very similar to what is out here now. We have the same wall still back here, as well as here is our little pulpit of sort, or judge stand, and our jury box over to the side right here. So this is also going to be on a clear flat. That is why we have this, so it's easy for our actors to stand upon, and it can easily be wheeled on and off the stage. So at this point, Mr. Zero unfortunately comes to an untimely death, and so the rest of the play takes place in an afterlife. With that, society is no longer having those impactful moments, so we have a set that is reflecting that. There is going to be no more color or numbers that are show society's dictating, so we finally get to see our actual hill that's been on stage the entire time, with the addition of a bunch of tombstones here, since this is going to be taking place in a graveyard. And here is once again Mr. Zero's, which would be up top. There we go. So we'd have a bunch of these around, and pretty simple. We would just basically have the main set of being this hill come up. Now, fun thing with this hill, I did include, since he's coming out of the grave, there's a trap door that opens from the back, so he would be able to come in, but then also that we would be able to lock it and secure it from the back side. So you'd need to have a crew member back there, but that way we can still use it as different levels throughout the rest of this afterlife, where this hill is going to be seen the entire time. So continuing on from there, we get to the nice place. The nice place is one of our biggest sets, whereas most of these sets so far have taken place a lot closer to the audience in the kind of the up front area. If you look here, we have our entire stage piece here. We also have this back section, which is not going to be utilized as much. It's going to be a very much forward set play. So most of the action is going to be actually down here in front of, even where the curtains would be drawn, above what would be our orchestra pit potentially in this production. And that is one of the reasons why the wall has also, up to this point, been pretty up front, so that way it brings all of the action forward to the audience and gets them more involved rather than being further back. This also brings back the idea of it being a coloring book, so it's right there for them rather than being far away. It's approachable. At this point, though, we get some bigger set pieces. We have our big wall, which takes place a lot farther back than everything else has been. And because of that, our scale also increases in a way. So we would have an archway here that is going to be made to create the illusion of stonework with vines all over it. And then we also have a very large tree here. So this tree is kind of fun because all of these flowers that you see on there, as well as on this tree, would be lit from the back with wire, like strip lighting type things. So that way when Zero is dreaming back into that life of potentially falling in love and actually being satisfied with changing his life, there will be actually color on this set in that way, which is kind of fun. We also have this wall, and it is actually able to be worked upon, so we can have props up there, we can have actors interacting, sitting, standing, whatever it may be. All of this is within possibilities to use also for our levels, as well as our hill that's in the back. So this is where we're gonna be a majority of our nice place. Our afterlife is gonna be, a lot of it is gonna be here on this set. From here, we have our final scene. Now this final scene is going to look a little bit different than what I have to show you today, simply because a lot of the set pieces are going to look very familiar, but they're gonna look a little bit different. So we're going back once again to our wall because the last scene takes place in the office. But this time, where I don't have the correct colored set pieces, you're gonna have the identical office that you had earlier, but this time, rather than all of these colors that you're gonna have here, it's gonna be a black and white set. So I can't necessarily demonstrate that for you today because I don't have those set pieces made, but they're gonna be the exact identical pieces here that you see, but this time they're gonna be black and white. With the exception of some graffiti cans that are gonna be over here by this table. All of these numbers are going to be covered and they're going to be graffitied in these colors. So that way it shows that Zero is attempting to figure out how to correctly pull in what he thinks society should make this look like, even in the afterlife. He's falling into those same patterns and those same rhythms. Unfortunately, we then find out about his repeated life and how he's going to be going and doomed to live the same life over and over, essentially. And that's also being reflected in the fact that it's going to be the same colors and the same numbers. They're just on a black and white set to show that it is his choice now that he's trying to follow society, which is a little bit different. As you can see, this set here, the stage is not necessarily complete because the scale I had to work with, I really struggled with figuring out how to make a lot of these small little details at this correct scale. So what I ended up doing is making everything 1 inch equals 1 foot, which is a lot bigger of a scale than a lot of these things would typically be at. And because of that, I couldn't find a box that was big enough in order to build the actual set. But just to kind of give you an idea of what that scale might look like on this set, from here to here is pretty close to how deep our stage would be. So we have, it'd be a little bit of a little bit deeper, but this is kind of an idea. Therefore, we have our wall would be roughly here, and a lot of our action would be in the very front 1/4 of the stage. That's where a lot of our set pieces are going to be, and it's only that big archway scene that takes place further back on the stage. This brings all of our action forward. It makes our lighting a little bit more difficult, but I think in the end it'll create a more inclusive performance, that this is more detailed for the audience to be able to see all of the numbers and all of the actors and all of the things that are going into that. But that is basically the production besides one point. We do have one drawing of our scene. The scene I chose to do the drawing of, which is, in my opinion, the most complicated, is going to be our couch scene in the living room at the dinner party. So we have our 2 couches here. As you can see, we have the couches here and here, and our middle table with our blocks. We have our back wall, and this is an example of what potentially the picture frames might look like. So we have one here that has the Zero last name on it, and then we have 2 other picture frames there, kind of just to give you an idea of how they might be changing and what that wall might look like with those added elements onto it. So ideally, this is going to be your entire set that you're going to be working with. It's kind of a fun color book, childlike, innocence type thing that gets a little bit chaotic when society's rules are broken or when he's trying to go back to those society standards. But yeah, that is my set building.